Alright, welcome Year 10 to Lesson 18 of our Flipped Classroom tutorials. Well, this lesson we celebrate the end of our chapter on equations. And to finish off, we need to look at something called simultaneous equations. Okay, so what does a simultaneous equation look like? Below I've given you an example. 2x plus y equals 1, and below it, x plus y equals 4. So the first thing you can notice, and what makes this very different from the equations that we've been looking at so far, is you have two equations. So when I say simultaneous equations, it means we are going to use two equations together. Secondly, you can probably notice in the example that this time you're not dealing with just one pronumeral. In this case, we have x and y, two pronumerals. So that's the visual difference. And if you see this example in a test, you would have to immediately think I'm dealing with simultaneous equations because there's two and because there are two pronumerals. So 3 points about simultaneous equations. Number 1, simultaneous equations are used to find the value of two pronumerals. Number 2, to find two pronumerals, we need two equations. And lastly, we must use these two equations to find the value of not just x, but y as well. So, in short, simultaneous equations are a pair of equations with two pronumerals, and your job is to find a value for both of those pronumerals. So how do we solve simultaneous equations? I've put the same example below, but before I start, this is quite a complicated procedure to solve for both x and y. It's a very step-by-step based method, and we're going to do a lot of practice of this in class. So for the moment, this PowerPoint will probably give you a very clear idea once we've done it in class. But please watch anyway, and if you can understand the steps as we go through, or even just some of them, you're doing really, really well. Alright, so we start with a pair of simultaneous equations. 2x plus y equals 1, and x plus y equals 4. Step 1. Label each of these equations with a number, 1 or 2. Just like that. I'll always draw a line from each equation and number them. The top one being number 1, the one below it being number 2. Pretty simple step. I think you'll be fine with that. So step 2. We now need to choose one of the equations, and we need to rearrange it so that we have either x or y as the subject of the equation. Now, I'll go through this, but I hope you remember that when we get x or y as the subject of the equation, it means that we're going to put one of those pronumerals on the left-hand side all by itself of the equal sign. So, I'm going to choose equation 2, and I would write in my second step, from 2, comma. Now if you look back at equation 2, it was x plus y equals 4. And my job in this step is to get one of those pronumerals, either x or y, as the subject of the formula, or subject of the equation I should say. So if we're looking at equation 2, x plus y equals 4, I'm going to choose to get x as the subject. To do so, I move everything over to the other right-hand side, other than x. And what I would be left with would be x equals 4 minus y. I'll pause for a bit so you can have another look at it. Equation 2 was x plus y equals 4. I want to get the x all by itself on the left-hand side of the equal sign. And so what I did was minus y from both sides of the equation. And what I'm left with is x equals 4 minus y. Alright, let's go to step 3. Step 3, a really easy one. Call this new equation 3. And I do that exactly the same way where I named the first equation number 1, second equation number 2, and I'm going to call our new equation x equals 4 minus y, equation 3. Alright, step 4. Now this is going to be a bit of a tricky part, so please watch carefully. Step 4, we now need to substitute equation 3 into equation 1 and get a solution. So, your writing would need to say sub 3, meaning equation 3, into 1, meaning equation 1. So, watch this. It's a little confusing. I'm going to go through it step by step. So we'd start with equation 1. Look back to the top, and we've written 2x plus y equals 1. Now what I mean by substituting equation 3 into equation 1 is that from equation 3 we found that x equals 4 minus y. So back to equation 1, we're going to substitute 4 minus y in for x. And I'll say it a bit simpler. Starting with equation 1, whenever we see x, we're not going to write x anymore. We're going to write what the value of x was in step 3. X was equal to 4 minus y, so wherever we see x, we're going to write 4 minus y. So I'll go through it step by step with you. Firstly, we'd write equation 1, 2x plus y equals 1. Next part, we're going to substitute the value of x, meaning 4 minus y, in for x. So you'd get 2 times 4 minus y plus y equals 1. Now you've got an equation that you could deal with. We've done these in class. Firstly, expand or get rid of your brackets. So 2 times 4 becomes 8. 2 times minus y becomes minus 2y. Plus the y equals 1. Now your next step, collect your like terms. And we would get our next line to look like 8 minus y equals 1. Because we collected our like terms, minus 2y plus y equals minus y. Now, move the 8 to the other side of the equal sign, and we would be left with minus y equals minus 7. And now to get rid of the minus sign, we divide both sides by minus 1. And we'd be left with y equals 7. Now what you've just done in this step is you've actually found the value of one of your pronumerals. In this case, we've found the actual value for y. And y equals 7. Okay. So step 5, very last step that we need to do. What we just did before is that we actually found the value of y, and y equals 7. So what we need to do now is substitute this solution back into either equation 1 or equation 2 or equation 3. If we do so, we're going to find the value for the other pronumeral. So I'm going to substitute my value for y into equation 2. Equation 2 is x plus y equals 4. Let's put the value of y into that equation, and it would become x plus 7 equals 4. Minus 7 from both sides to get x all by itself. And our final solution for x would be x equals minus 3. So that is its simultaneous equation. all the working out that you see would be what you are required to actually write when you solve these types of equations. Always remember that we do need two values, and you can see them highlighted in red. We found what y was equal to, which was 7, and using that we found what x was equal to, -3. My teacher was even good to say that we should usually put a box around both of these solutions just to make them really clear. Okay, so as I said, we're going to do a lot of these in class, get a lot of practice on each step, and by very quickly, I'll say, you will find these easier to do than what they look like right now. All right, well, next lesson, we are studying a whole new topic, trigonometry, and we'll start simply with an introduction to it. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson, Year 10. I'll see you this week. We do have a topic test coming up on equations, and I'll prepare you for that during the week. Enjoy.